Hi guys, Sonia, Snowy White 79 here. It is Monday, April 22nd, 2013. As some of you know, I had my appointment with my neurosurgeon this morning. I've been out of that appointment for about 3 hours now and no longer feel as if I'm gonna vomit. And I haven't had to remind myself to breathe in about the last 30 minutes. So I think the shock's wearing off. So yeah, the good news is still that the lesions are not metastasized cancer. That's good. The concerning remains that there are lesions in my brain. Basically, she said the one on the left, and I got to see the pictures, the one on the left is much smaller, though it's still larger. I guess as we get older, we develop lesions on our brain. So she had said, you know, if I was 30 years older, they would expect to find some small lesions on my brain. My smallest lesion is still larger than they would expect to find. And granted, I'm not in my 60s. So, however, the smaller one, she says it looks healed. So whatever that means. Basically, it's not of concern at the moment. Apparently whatever was wrong with it, it has healed itself. The other one, the one that's in my right frontal lobe, it's larger. Looking at the picture, the smaller one was about the size of a dime, maybe a penny. No larger than a penny, but bigger than a dime. So in that size frame. The one that is of concern is between like $1.50 and $1.50 size. And depending on the view, like she showed me all kinds of pictures, depending on the view, like when it's the view where it's white, it's pretty consistent in color. But then when you change it up and look at it with the blacks and the grays, where it looks like a void more than a spot, the void density is not consistent. Like there's obviously a denser center, and then it almost, okay, when I was in elementary school, maybe middle school, I did a chicken judging through 4-H, and we had to judge egg yolk. So it kinda, to me, looks like an egg yolk, where you've got the darker yolk in the center, and then it gets a little lighter, and then it gets even lighter. And it would be like if the yolk was sitting at the bottom. So there's the yolk, and then there's, you know, the little bit of, what's that called? I don't know. Anyway, the thicker white stuff. And then toward the top of this lesion, it's even a lighter mass. It's not as dense there. So, she left me with the impression that her concern is that it could be a primary spot for cancer. And she gave me this impression because she said multiple times, I'm not going to call it cancer yet. So my neurologist had left me the impression that it could be MS or some form of, because he said multiple times, well, I'm not saying you have MS yet. She doesn't think that it's MS because there's not very much inflammation overall in my brain. Now where the lesions are, there is inflammation. But like the rest of my brain is proportioned properly from my skull to my matter. She wanted wants to do biopsy because it gives us more answers, possibly. However, a brain biopsy is a little more complicated than other biopsies. Like, I've had a biopsy of my uterus taken, and I went in and they set me up and clipped out a portion of my uterus and sent me on my way. They didn't even give me local pain medication. For the brain, however, it's surgery. I'll be put to sleep for 24 hours after I'm out of surgery. I'll be in ICU. If everything goes well there, then for 24 hours after that, I would be in a regular observation room. Then I would get to go home. I would be out of work for a minimum of 2 weeks, probably more like 3, and that's if everything goes well. Oh gosh, yeah, it's making me queasy again to talk about it. Okay. Breathing is a good thing. So, with that time frame, I told her I couldn't. She was ready to biopsy me next week. I can't right now because of school. And no lectures that my health is more important than school. Okay? None. I don't want to hear lectures. I can't right now because that would put me out through finals. And that would be a waste of over $1,000 in tuition, and I'm not going to do it. She did say that it's okay to wait when I told her why I didn't want to have a biopsy next week. She said that's okay. She said that'll actually give us time. She's she thinks it appears to be healing, and she feels it's healing because it's getting blood flow. And you don't really get blood flow to your brain, so that's not necessarily a good thing, because that means there's a breakdown in the barrier between, you know, brain and blood. So the spinal tap is a week from tomorrow, and she said that would give us more answers. And then, since I have my last final May 13th, she has scheduled me for a repeat MRI as soon as I get finished with my final. My final was supposed to be from 10 to 11:50, but she scheduled my MRI at 11. So I spoke with my professor today, and she's going to let me come in at 8 for my final. So I will take my final, I will go for another MRI. As soon as I'm finished with the MRI, I go to see Dr. Halavin. And then at that point, we decide what to do. She said there is the possibility that it could heal on its own like the other one apparently did between now and then. So that's like my number one hope. So if it heals between now and then, I will just have MRIs the rest of my life. I don't know how often, but apparently I've had one lesion before and now I have another. She said that doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't mean that they started at different times. It just means that they grew to different sizes. So they could have started at the same incident, or they could be completely different time frames. So that's best case scenario. It heals between now and then. If the lesion is still there and what we're calling active on the 13th, then we'll schedule the biopsy, and then we'll go from there with the pathology report and whatnot. So that's my update. Thanks, guys. Bye.